Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Friday update. So, a lot to talk about. Got good news and bad news. So let's start with item one, because that is also good news and bad news. The beta date. We're close, not there yet. We spent a lot of this week, as we're going to spend, hopefully not all of next week, getting the right date. Look, we've said right from the beginning, we need to have the right date to give to you folks. Now, the good news. We are absolutely whipping through the tasks. Things are being laid out properly now. All is looking good. We just, again, we want to be sure. So, that's the worst. Now, the good news. Item number 2 on the top 10-ish, which I just jumped into. Welcome back, alpha testers. So, if you've checked your email, all alpha, all IT are now and still invited to an ongoing test on Wormling. We are testing the first outside of IT pass on the Saturday Night Siege tech. So if you folks who are alpha haven't been in there yet, go on in. It is an unstable build. Expect issues. We've already tracked down some, but other than that, no server crashes. Client crashes about what we expected. Performance, when not spiking, though we believe we found the cause of at least one of the spikes, has been great. And the big thing again, folks, no server crashes. 300 NPCs and players. I think we peaked at 70-something players, running around, using abilities, killing each other, doing everything you hope to do in this game. And, again, when not spiking, frame rate was, for most people, excellent. Again, we were having spikes which were absolutely affecting performance. Those are on our end. Nothing long-term, even short-term concerning. And at least for one of them, we're already looking at a fix. So we are really, really happy to welcome back our alpha testers. We know it's been a while. It's been too long. But hopefully this is the first in what's going to be an ongoing series of impromptu tests, pre-Saturday Night Siege tests, all leading up to Beta 1. And keep in mind that Alpha isn't done yet. So we're going to be doing SNS or tests like SNS during Alpha. So for your Alpha folks, boy, it's it's going to be very different for you, especially for those who might remember the build the last time they went in. Lots of changes have gone on since, a lot more coming in, and I'm pretty confident that we'll be having another test next week, maybe multiple tests, hopefully multiple tests, and possibly a weekend test of the scenarios. So today we tested 2 of them, are testing, and we'll be testing for at least another hour and a half. Test that set around the castle, where you're just, again, running around and killing people, and then an outside the castle, test. And again, running really nicely. Scenarios or matches respawning like they need to. Scenarios starting and running, as long as they need to. All really, really good stuff. Number 3 on the top 10-ish, stability. So over the last week, we wanted to speed up. I know you don't hear that from us very often, but speed up delivery on the performance pass that we were supposed to start officially next week. We got some of that done this week. Again, we wanted to get you folks in as well, so expect to see more next week. Number 4, another tech item, active QUI for skills. So AJ's begun work on a new addition to the UI, which will show what skills are queued, prepared, and held for other skill tracks in a separate widget rather than the skill bar. Number 5, another work in progress, another piece of tech. a polyamorous, yes, I said it, a polyamorous editor. That word came courtesy of Bull. And there is some, well, let's see, the Bull is talking polyamorously. Anyway, the idea is an editor that can work with, again, the generic editor that can work with different things. So work on that moving forward. Number 6, an art piece, UI animations. So James has made a number of fixes this week and is wrapping up the victory animation as well. Number 7, new status effect VFX. So Ben has created several new status effects after the ability refactor, and Mike is working on those. So things like, cripple, disorient, infect, renewal. Hey, we just renewed our lease here. I wonder if that, I should have had a status effect for that. That's not fair. Gosh, I get to renew our lease and I don't get a status effect. Huh. Number 8, another odd item, the Patcher Splash Screens. So Michelle has shifted back to her trio of SNS splash screens for the Patcher, and she's working on some new concepts for race-specific animated backgrounds during character creation. Number 9, updated throwing animations. So in this week's update, you can see a new pass on the throwing animations from Scott. Another work in progress, but moving forward. Number 10, character creation renders. So Sandra's been working on that after she's been working on her plague or recovery from the plague. And we are, she's working with Michelle on the just a generic poses, as well as class-specific poses to make them more interesting, cooler, more immersive. Number 11, Characters 2.0, UVs and Materials. So, you saw it in the last week's update, the comparison between what we were doing before in terms of the character and John's new work on the new character UVs. And this work is continuing with the Viking light armor with new materials and UVs. Additionally, he's been using this time to update our old glove models and heads. Number 12, Characters 2.0, Geometry and Mesh Weights. So our new animator, Joe, has been attacking, apparently, several issues on our radar to improve our characters. He spent time looking at all the item armor parts and looking for ways to reduce the geometry penetration when animated. Basically, the way to look at it is when you see in our game and other games, when things just don't look right, when things pass through, when things, when you turn to the side and things don't look good. So that's what Joe is working on. 13, and the last on the list, new Stone Healer SFX. So DB took a break from debugging and started working on the new Stone Healer specific sounds. So that's it for the top 10. Hydrate, thank you. That's it on the top 10. I want to make this a short Q&A today. I want to get back to testing. So we'll go to 4:30 so I can get back and play around some more in the game.
All right, folks. Give us your questions.
Oh, and to let our Beta 1 guys know, yes, depending on what we can get done next week, we may invite you guys in as well for a break the build test, just as we're doing now with the alphas.
Zacharek says, did you enjoy it when I killed you in game?
Oh, I've always told you guys. I mean, I know I'm going to be meat for a lot of you folks in the game. Sure, it's part of the game. I was playing on another game's PvP server last night, and, people were complaining about, oh my God, they killed me. And it's like, really? You're running around trying to quest in PvP areas and you're complaining about being killed? Part of the game.
That scrolled fast. Escacho asked, how's hiring?
Hang on, I'll answer that in a second. Max, try to limit one question per person since we're at 20 minutes, and then if we start to run out of questions, stop. You can start going back to other people.
Got it.
How's hiring going? Okay. We did well, obviously, with 3 new people in January. We've gotten a bunch of resumes. Only a handful of people that really even make it through the make it through the initial screening process. So we'll see. I think right now we've got 3 interesting people. 1 senior, 2 not senior. We'll see how it works out. But it's still early, way early. We only made the announcement a couple weeks ago. So, all good. Just, it takes time. It takes a lot of my time, but it's worth it.
Nyalvar asks, when could we order some TSL merchandise?
We are going to do some TSL stuff just for fun. Beta 1. We certainly want to put real CU and CSE stuff up, and at the same time we'll probably do something for TSL because that's just too awesome.
Odovik asked a question from Hamble Pants. Will there be bald options for hairstyles? I want to play a bald lady Lucropan.
Honestly, I hadn't actually thought about that. Maybe it's my flowing manes. But yeah, I would love to be able to do that. I don't see why not.
Funk and Ellie, where did the awesome shield go? It's right here. Hang on. We got to fix this.
Oh, didn't know it was unfixed. Now it's unfixed.
There you
or
go.
Now it's fixed from being unfixed.
An awesome backer made that. Let's see. Kick Assassins, was someone flying the big dragon around in the test?
No. That's just that same dragon kite, essentially, that Andrew made a long time ago, just for fun.
Odovik asked a question from Darlgon. How is Ben's combat issues list?
We've worked with Ben on his issues.
Get HR on the phone. I'm doing this in public.
Fine. Everything is moving along nicely. Ben is doing his usual fantastic job with us, so all is good.
Gasket asks, is friendly player collision going to remain in the game, or will it be enemies only?
Well, certainly enemies at a minimum. We certainly would like to have as much collision as possible that makes sense. So that's one of the things we've said right from the get-go. Enemies 100%, that's not even optional. For the friend stuff, there's always the issue of, well, can you be griefed by people? So, by people of your own realm, and that's always something, as you folks know, that I'm concerned about. So we'll see. But certainly enemies, oh my God, that is an absolute must-have.
It's Z's asks, or Itz's. Mark, I know you guys are working your butts off, but why are dates so hard to give?
Because we want to be right. Could I give a date right now? Absolutely. It would be very easy for me. The date I will give. And this is not a cop-out, but it's what I've said before. It's going to be this year. It's going to be, we hope, absolutely before the end of the year, well before the end of the year. We just want to give you a date that we can stick to. I mean, look, you know this, man. You've seen how many games, including us, give dates and can't make them, right? It's epidemic. It's reached epidemic proportions with games. Almost everyone's late. We don't want to do that again. You folks deserve better. You really do. You've been patient. You've been, just lovely. And so if it means an extra week or 2 weeks and, me sitting here and taking a little grief, and you're not giving me any. I certainly am not referring to you at all. Then I'll do it. Because we're going to give you a good date. We're not going to give you a date where it's, well, we'll tell them whatever, right? We'll tell them, June. And if we slip, we slip. And no, we don't want to do that. We want to have done everything we need to do, not only to give you a good date, and then I'm going to add to it, as I said I would, just to make sure we hit it. You guys deserve that. Hang on. What I've also said, and this is really important, we want to make the rest of Alpha fun too. So, we don't, it'd be easy for us to say whenever, and then keep Alpha testing more like it has been, but we want to make it fun as well. We want to get you guys in for not only break the build tests, but pre-Saturday Night Siege stuff, and then some SNSs, before we go into beta. That's the plan.
Just because it's on the same topic, Ex Sancho asks, is there any chance the beta date announcement will be before next Friday?
Oh, like during the week? Is there a chance? Yes, not a very good chance. Again, we've got a new producer, and I don't want him to start on the wrong foot. And that wouldn't be his fault; it would be our fault. We would have put him in a position where he wasn't ready, to sign off on a date, because yours truly was pushing him too much just to give a date. We want to get it right. We want, again, we've been late. We've just taken in some money. And the way to say thank you to our backers is certainly not to, I want to say this as gently as I can, but I can't, bullshit up a date just to keep some people happy. I know I'll make some people unhappy by waiting a little longer. I'd rather them be unhappy than give them a date that we don't fully believe in.
The man with no screen name asks, what's the mood in the studios right now? How electrifying is it to be plowing your way through alpha to get into beta?
Oh, generally good, except AJ's been killing a bunch of people who seem to get upset by it. I am not among them. We won't mention any names. But other than that, everything is good. But other than that, everything is good. I mean, look, both the additional investment and the attention we've been getting since the investment have gone over very well with everyone, as it should. Look, we are in a very different position than we were 2 months ago. We are in a position where we can look at not the funding, but the overfunding, essentially, to do what we need to do. And as you folks have seen so far with the people we've hired and the things I've said, we're spending the money the right way. We're not spending it on videos. We're not spending it on marketing. Right now, our number one, number two, and number three focus is to bring more people into the team to make the game faster. And that's not going to change. Are we going to do more with marketing once we get into beta? Absolutely. I've said that from the beginning. But that's not important now. I don't want to spend an additional dollar on marketing, on video, on anything else until we get into beta. And hopefully that will give you folks as well some additional, comfort and happiness, because we're happy with it. We want more people here. We want to deliver faster. We want to make alpha as well, or beta as well as alpha, more fun. And so, yeah, lots of excitement, especially as we're going into the, testing matches. And yeah, there are issues, as we knew there would be. But the big ones, the ones that you just drive you up the wall when you're working on these kind of games, with servers crashing constantly, with other things that are preventing testing from going on. Nothing. Server so far, at least as of when I jumped out, which was right before I got on here, rock solid, working beautifully. That kind of makes us feel good, even when when new bugs come in, or maybe not new, but bugs we hadn't seen before come in. because we know that no matter what, the foundation that we're building everything on is running pretty damn well.
Sacrix asks, how important is the depth to the game? As in, is it more endgame or integral right from the start?
Well, it can't be integral right from the start, but it's not endgame either. And I know you understand the difference, definition of what endgame in a game like ours is, because we're not a vertical progression game. But the depths are important, and it should be important at different stages of the game, just not right from the get-go.
Mr. Peace 84 asks, regarding the armor and heraldry, have you considered letting players rate other players to promote positive behavior? Maybe even inherit a rating on a new alt?
I can imagine a bunch of things going wrong with that, but, anything's possible.
Sherisil asks, are there any plans to make crafters-only orders viable? If yes, will you be able to make blueprints order exclusive?
We've talked about the possibility of setting up a blueprint system where the blueprints couldn't be copied by someone else. It's something we've talked about. It's something we'll think about. It is not something we are promising, because there are implications, obviously. And bad ones, not just, well, of course there are implications, Mark. It's that kind of game. But, bad ones. So, we'll see.
Steebert asks, might Flame Wardens be able to use air magic? One video there was a talk of smoke, but the way I see it, you can't have fire without oxygen.
Yeah, I mean, there are sort of different angles to go with any of the elemental-based classes. So, I don't want to keep saying we'll see, but the reason I'm saying we'll see is that so much depends on, as we move through the initial testing with these classes, do we like the direction we're going with them? And you guys know me by now. I'm not big on promising stuff we can't deliver on, which is why, unlike, a number of games, we've stuck to our foundational principles. We've stuck to everything we have told you we want to have in the game, and we want to continue doing that. So it's not that we're thinking small or not thinking imaginative, because Lord knows we're doing that a lot. We're thinking big, but we don't want to promise stuff that we can't deliver on.
Lottoween asks, you must be really looking forward to getting back to work on the crafting system. Can you tell us about one thing in the system that is going to make it far more fun than the Daok crafting system?
Well, hopefully. So the Daok crafting system was, for the time, certainly a great crafting system. It did what it needed to do. We had some great elements in there that made it more useful, more important than just some typical crafting systems. I think the biggest thing for me, the two biggest things, one, it's not, our system is not going to be carpal tunnel inducing like a lot of crafting systems are. And second, the amount of customization that I want to give you folks. I think those two things are going to be very fun. And yes, I am so looking forward to getting back to being design guy and not being business development guy full time. It's literally unbelievably consumptive of my time over the last 2 months, and not all that much better in the months preceding that. So yes, I am really excited about, especially once I get back from break, which probably won't be until the end of February now, to just being able to focus on design. And crafting is obviously one of the first things I'm going to be turning my attention to.
Sacrix wants me to tell you that we miss the Mark the Designer.
I miss Mark the Designer. I love buying his clothes. No, I do. I do miss being design guy. I really do. you know, it's one of my joys. It's one of the things that brings me pleasure, and I just haven't had time, and I haven't had the energy, even when I've had some brief moments in between, because everything I've been doing is just. I'll put it this way: it's really hard to go back and stare at more spreadsheets when you've been staring at doing nothing but staring at spreadsheets, and you know that's what it. Certainly over the last few months. And even before that, it was a combination of spreadsheets and legal agreements. And so, yeah, man, I cannot wait to go back to it. I think actually it's going to benefit the game long term, not the obvious, oh, look, we just got a sack of cash. But more importantly, it's given me time to put some distance between me and some of my original thoughts on BSC stuff, on crafting, and it's going to allow me to come back and be as objective as possible. And so, you know, I think when I do a revisit on the crafting system, there may be things I want to change, not to make them crazier, but maybe to make them more accessible. But we'll see. I so excited, cannot wait. Ladies and gentlemen, 5-minute warning, please.
All right, that's our 5-minute warning. Fierent asks, any ideas on server capacity size?
Long term, we certainly are not looking for one world servers. It's not that we can't do that. We certainly can do that if we wanted to. But I'm not a big believer in them for a host of reasons. Certainly, if you look at the what used to be the traditional number of a couple thousand, 3,000, 3,500, we know we'll be beyond that. What we'll end up as, we'll just have to see. So one thing I can very easily say, without any fear of contradiction, is that based on our tests so far, we were able to put 3,000 of our bots in a teeny tiny, space on one of the islands. So I think it's a pretty safe bet to say, and I could be wrong, that we'll be able to do 3,000 people on a server. We've already done it, and on a teeny tiny part of a server. So, whatever number that we need to have to make it a good game, we know we'll be able to do. I just don't have any doubt because we're doing it now. And, that's not something we've really talked about a lot, at least not from that perspective. But for you folks, who've been watching what we've been saying, and even a leaked video that we put out on our forums, doing a few thousand people in a teeny tiny space is pretty good. Therefore, whether it's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, when you look at a server, so not an issue. So not an issue.
Rhaegar asks, have we hit the point where adding new programmers would just prolong how long it takes to start Beta 1?
Oh, God, no. Not at all. There's still a bunch of things that could be done to help speed up, Beta 1. It's also one of the reasons we're being careful about who we're bringing in. Like, if we were going to bring in another junior programmer right now, you'd be correct. Absolutely correct. That could hurt us. It's one of the reasons we're not actively recruiting for juniors. If we see a good one come in, we'll certainly, look at it. But we need to be careful. It's, we don't want to do anything to hurt, slow down, making Beta 1. On the other hand, if you bring in a senior person who's worked potentially even in some similar systems to what that person would be working on, that certainly would not slow us down. So, again, that's why we're really only trying to recruit hard for senior people. And again, we'll take a good candidate who's younger, but we're not looking. We're actively not really looking for one.
All right, ready to call it?
No, look for a really good question. That was a good question, but see if you can find a really good one.
All right, looking for a nice one to end with. Pachamos asks, you mentioned in a previous stream that you were an ex-lawyer. How do you make the jump into game designer?
Oh, I was designing games before I was actually a lawyer. I got started out. I won't tell the whole story again because it's a long story. But I started actually designing games in high school. Got a little bit more into it in college, not that much. And then decided, I guess, because law school wasn't challenging enough for me, to start a game company while at law school. So it's really that simple. I believed in the future of PCs back in the Apple days, and didn't have a lot of support from the family on that one, but I did start it. I started the company anyway. So yeah, it was really that simple. I've loved games since high school. It was the first computer game that got me hooked was a Star Trek game, and from that moment on, it was always in the back of my head. And certainly in college, it just was reaffirmed and stamped heavily into head by the guys that I hung out with during especially my last couple years at Syracuse. So yeah, always wanted to do it, and believed in it enough to again try to start a computer game maker while in law school. So yeah, love it, still love it, loved it, still love it. I love the creative end of the business far more than I love the business end of the business. I do the business end of the business because I'm good at it. I do the creative end of the business because I love it. So I am just unbelievably looking forward to having less to do on the business side. Even if there are more opportunities like there are right now than there were a couple months ago, they're the less time-consumptive ones than trying to raise money is. Because raising, VC, even from people it's still difficult. Even if they know you, even if they think you're great, you still have to do all sorts of things to comply with SEC, regulations, and it just takes time. And other opportunities won't take as much time, which is very good and makes me very happy. I also want to get back to writing. I haven't been able to write a blessed thing in months, just months and months. I want to get back to my graphic novels. I really want to do some other game design stuff as well for fun. And when I was, just so deep in the business side of things, I had nothing. I mean, nothing was coming out. No creativity, no fun. I was totally focused, as I had to be, on the business side. So I cannot tell you again how excited I am to be able to get past all of that and now put the business side of it where I'm happier with it being only a small part of my job, and the creative side and the design side being the majority. And thankfully that deal is done, and to the quality of people I have working around me, I can do that. It makes me very, very happy. So with that, let me say again, any of you alpha folks or IT folks who haven't jumped in and want to see what's been going on, especially alphas, in the last 6 months, please jump into Wormling. Ignore the lag spikes that we've already tracked down again, at least one of them. When the engine is running, when both the client and server are running in sync, it's a thing of beauty. It's 300 people and NPCs all happily killing each other with abilities firing off nicely. And it shows just how close we are to having the Saturday Night Sieges. So if you can, jump on in. We'll be up for at least the next hour, maybe an hour and a half, but the next hour. And I'd love to see you in there. I can't imagine we won't have another test next week. There's no reason why not. So expect, if you can't join us today, we want to give you multiple opportunities next week, as well potentially evening opportunities when you folks on the West Coast, or even us East Coasters, come home from work. So with that, I want to say, as always, thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much for your patience. We hope to have the Beta 1 date fairly quickly. I'm going to be talking to our producer at the end of the day to see where we are. And I think, though I can't guarantee, that the majority of you will be happy with the date, because frankly, even a date that's a little longer than you might have wanted, like tomorrow, is a date. And we want to make the alpha more fun, which is why we're setting up for the beta in the right way by having break the build tests, by having pre-SNS testing, then by having SNS testing. And we want to get you Beta 1 folks, and maybe all of you in for a couple of tests before we go into beta. So it's going to be a very interesting February. Just as January was interesting, February is going to be, I think, in some ways even more interesting. So with that, as always, have a good weekend, stay safe, and I'll see you next week.
Keep an eye out for our updates.
Oh, and yes, it's a top 10 update, or a regular update today as well.
All right, see you later.